Hello, everybody. Today is another episode of Maho Shonen, where we, a group of friends, play Magic the Gathering, and our podcast is today we're going to talk about those new Banlist announcement. So, I'm Victor.
I'm Mitchell.
I'm CJ.
And this is Jedi.
We actually have a new friend. He actually made it today. I'm so glad you're here today, Jedi. How you feeling, man?
Feeling not too bad myself.
Okay, so the topic for today is going to be those new ban list changes, and oh boy, are they something! It's a pretty mixed bag of things, both good and bad on the internet. So but we got quite a few things we want to say. So I want to hear you guys, your opinion on it. So go ahead, Mitchell. What do you think about the ban announcements for Iona and Paradox Engine and the unbanning of Painter Servant?
I don't like it. I'm just, I think it was very unnecessary. I mean, why you gotta ban Iona? She didn't do anything wrong. She's been here for I don't know, ever since I played Magic, in Commander at least. She's just been there.
Yeah, she is
She's not a boogeyman. She ain't no Deadeye Navigator. She ain't no Prophet of Krufix.
She ain't no Prophet of Krufix. That's so true.
She ain't no Cyclonic Wrath.
The Paradox Engine, I'm kind of upset about that. I spent a lot of money on the Masterpiece version, so...
Oof. It really sucks because, honestly, can you imagine all the players who spent so much money when it was climbing up to, $40 to $50? All of a sudden, that money, that value just evaporated. It just got Thanos snapped.
Well, it's I was reading comments on YouTube and TCG Player. People were like, I just picked this up last week. I saved up money, $30 to get this card, and now it's banned.
I know, that's so ridiculously, the feels bad. But, enough of the feels bad. We all know why. But, honestly, so I want to hear, Mitchell, you can go up first. But do you think it was necessary at all for this ban?
No, I think it was very unnecessary. I didn't... It just came out of nowhere. I wasn't prepared for it, and I think the reasoning of having Painter's Servant unbanned because Iona was banned is kind of like a red herring, or just a scapegoat. Just to have one card unbanned, you need to ban one card or two cards, technically, because of Paradox Engine. Not that Paradox Engine had to deal with anything with Painter Servant, but I just felt like it was unnecessary.
Well, it sort of did. You put the Painter Servant combo with Grindstone.
If we're pushing it, I guess you could say that, but
That's
still,
true.
though, here's the thing: it's you gotta cast a spell to untap your Grinding Stone. But hey,
yeah,
I guess so. Maybe that's a little pushing it, but it just seems so out of place. Honestly, you think about Painter Servant, it's one of those things where Magic has changed and grown so much that it's not that scary anymore. Even with Grindstone, hell, we even had that combo already existing with Helm of Obedience combined with Rest in Peace. And so it was a long time coming for Painter Servant, but for Paradox Engine, all of a sudden, I don't know. Chris, how do you feel about this? Because I already know how Mitchell feels about this.
I'm not too upset about it. I think the way it was banned, the way they put out the announcement was what upsets a lot of players. They didn't give a heads up. They were just this is banned. With Standard and a lot of other formats, you kind of know when the ban list is coming out. Commander is just it just came out. There was no foreshadowing, forewarning. I think the way they should have done it, and Mitchell and I both agree about it, is they should have put out these are the cards we are considering for ban. And I think if they would have done that, gone that route, it would have helped out a lot of players going, they have Paradox Engine on this consideration list. Maybe we should hold off on Paradox Engine buying it, It's like any other card, if they were to put Deadeye Navigator on that list, I think a lot of players would have held off on buying cards at that moment and go, what's going to be banned? What's going to be unbanned? Let's wait.
That's super true. I know Modern does that where, whenever they do a ban announcement and they say no bans are being made, and they give a list of cards that they're considering, if it gets too powerful, But unfortunately, Modern also did get a ban, but that's, we'll talk about that another day. Today, our focus on Commander, but here's what bugs me though is that in Sheldon's, article, he's got a lot of good points, but there's a lot of counter argument you can provide for it too. But he stated, paraphrasing here, is that Paradox Engine is such a powerful card that it allows you to generate so much mana in a very fast pace and allow you to get away and win the game, with little to high risk. Too much reward, not enough risk. And, from where I'm coming from, honestly, I feel that that's somewhat true if you're mismatched against lower power level decks, right? But then when you're playing against decks that are relatively equally matched, not at all. Like, you have to build your Paradox Engine like a certain, to include that card, you got to play a lot of rocks. And it's and then if you play against a certain meta that's, has a lot of rocks, it's I don't know. It's it also saddens me a little bit too. But let's hear what you got to say, Jedi, because I got you here today.
All right, so Paradox Engine, I believe, is an amazing card. I believe that, it's definitely enables a lot of decks that previously weren't as potent to be even more potent with their flow, with the deck execution flow. However, I do think that on its own, it doesn't necessarily do much besides
sit there.
Yeah, it takes up 5 mana, albeit of any color, yes, but it just comes out as a 5 mana rock that basically it doesn't really tap for mana.
It doesn't even generate mana.
It doesn't generate mana on its own.
It sits there.
It definitely needs a build around, I think. Sure, a lot of decks, most decks do run some sort of acceleration. Not all decks require acceleration, but a lot of decks do use that, and I can see Paradox Engine being an amazing card that generates a lot of value. However, I really think it was more of the kind of card that allowed for a more diverse meta, if anything.
I definitely do agree because, back to adding on to what you said and back to what I was saying earlier, is that Sheldon stated that it was very little risk and too high of a reward of a card. But realistically speaking, though, you have to play a lot of mana rocks to actually have it net you positive, and then you have to be casting those spells, and then if you run out of cards in hand, that's it, you're done. And so you have to design your deck in mind to play not only a lot of rocks, but ways to cantrip or have cards that let you draw into more gas to keep the chain going. And if you think about it, any sort of interaction to pop those mana rocks or the Paradox Engine itself, you can fizzle it. So it's just like any other combo piece. I personally don't see that as that big of a deal because, you're committing so much to your deck building and so much space for it, and now you're punishing the player for not being allowed to play the card they want to play. It just feels bad.
Just to put on that note, I played a game of Commander once. Bray as my commander. I dropped a Paradox Engine, and one of our other players at that game popped it right away. They were like, Paradox Engine, do I want to allow that to be on the field? Nope. And like that, it was gone. So I think, you really got to think about it. It's like, they say it's really strong card, but you destroy it with naturalize effects, you counter it before it even hits the field. It's like, is it really that strong?
Is it?
See, I think also that there's a lot of cards, there's a lot of mainstay staples in Commander that naturally counteract Paradox Engine. For example, we have Stony Silence, which is a white and a colorless, just 2 mana enchantment that prevents all activated abilities from being activated.
And that includes mana abilities from your mana rocks too. That's a big hit.
From artifacts, which a lot of Paradox Engine builds would be running in order to optimize its construction. And then there's also Collector Oof, The
Yeah.
new, oof, the new Modern Horizons, 1 green, 1 white. We have a 2 mana card counteracting a 5 mana card.
It's actually just mono green, so it's even easier to splash.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's what I'm
Oh,
saying is
yeah.
that I don't know. I just feel that people, the reason why people wanted to get banned was the fact that we're playing against mismatched decks, like power level wise, and don't have enough interaction.
Agreed.
And it's one of those things where, like, in our play group, we have a couple players who play the Paradox Engine, and we work together to find an answer to it. Because, like, whether it be, like, we do some politics where, like, oh, I have this, like, draw spell, and I'll target you, and I know that you can, like, we can windfall to find an answer for this Paradox Engine, or something like that, or find a counter spell. Whatever it may be. And here's the thing. You can argue that everything dies to removal somehow. Which is true. But it's like it doesn't justify the ban because honestly, oh man, I just feel so bad for all the players who spent like $30-$40 like the week before, and all of a sudden now that money has gone to waste.
Or spent $90 for your masterpiece like months ago, thinking that it would never be banned.
Or like that too. But then like or like those who bought just recently bought the masterpiece version, and those were climbing up to $150+ dollars. Can you imagine all those players who just like shelled out about like a good chunk out of their paycheck, or if they're a high school player who wanted to be, or even a beginning college, student who doesn't have that much like funds to begin with and just wants to play with the best cards possible to have fun in their commander games. It just feels bad all around, and I don't think it's necessary. It's one of those things where, like, in my personal opinion, and like this is coming from like CEDH, and I've seen a couple CEDH games, and I partaked in like 1 or 2 games before, and Jedi here actually played a few, but he can totally agree with me that Flash is far more dangerous compared to
touch
Flash
Flash.
Hulk.
Flash, from how I see it, is even more efficient than Paradox Engine. Let's talk about mana efficiency here. Paradox Engine costs 5, and then at least 1 more mana, and that 1 more, so 2. You need 2 things to resolve in order for Paradox Engine to actually function. You need the Paradox Engine to land on the battlefield and be resolved upon the cast. And then second off, in order for it to even become effective, you need to resolve another spell. The player that casts a Paradox Engine, needs to resolve another spell. So if someone were to let the Paradox Engine resolve, and then they pop the Paradox Engine with an interaction, destroy target artifact, that Paradox Engine does not activate its ability.
Well, technically,
You could
By
instant
itself.
speed something, put it
Well,
on the stack.
If you don't activate anything in response,
Yeah.
you wouldn't really be netting value.
well, here's the thing: is that like in a normal commander game, right? So if someone was to cast a Paradox Engine, priority would be that it's on the stack, and then if everyone passed priority, then it successfully resolves, and the priority goes back to the one who cast the Paradox Engine. So they do actually have priority to get 1 trigger off of it. Now here's the thing, though.
But they don't necessarily have to have.
But here's the thing: they
Yeah.
don't necessarily always have it, and also the fact that like they could even let's say they do try to cast 1 more spell and they get 1 trigger off of it. Before that trigger resolves, they could always just pop the Paradox Engine, and then the trigger resolves, and then untap all of the lands. So technically, they only get kind of a little bit of use. It's not even that big of a deal. Now, in CDH terms, you can kind of get away because, you got tons of interaction protected. But we're talking about CEH levels here, where everyone knows that when you're getting on a table with the big boys,
You're playing with the big boys now.
Exactly. But the problem with Paradox Engine is that Sheldon says that in a casual game, it's too powerful, which you're probably right. Sheldon's definitely, not in the wrong state of mind here because it is a powerful card. Don't get me wrong. But it's one of those cards where you have to talk to your playgroup about it. If your playgroup is armed to the teeth with interaction and ways to interact with the Paradox Engine or prevent you from getting it out or prevent you from just comboing out in general, it's like a typical game of Magic. Now, if they're just playing like some sort of Timmy deck with just a bunch of creatures, then obviously when that Johnny player gets his combo together and like lines up all the pieces of Exodia, of course he's gonna like stomp them, and then it's gonna be a feel bad moment. But then if you agree to playing it to begin with, and you full knowingly well like know that like that's what you're getting yourself into, then why are you complaining?
There should be no salt.
There should be no salt, because it was like it's kind of like a gentleman's agreement. It's like, hey, okay, hey guys, like what's the power level, like, you know, how strong are we playing today? You know what I mean?
If anything, I do believe that Paradox Engine allows for players within playgroups to evolve their decks even further. And I would say that because, yes, I have a Paradox Engine. Yes, you know, none of you guys have interaction in your decks to even stop my Paradox Engine. So shouldn't you maybe consider changing up your deck, modifying your deck in order to interact with Paradox Engine? There's a lot of artifact hate. We've already mentioned two within. We've only mentioned about two of them within the previous part of this video. If you rewind a little bit, where we talked about Collector Oof and we talked about Stony Silence being able to counteract the Paradox Engine. So maybe, you know, that you have that in green and in white, and then you also have a lot of artifact removal in general that could handle Paradox Engine. So I do believe that at least, you know, if you do have a play group where you have a player that runs a somewhat broken deck because of the Paradox Engine, I believe that as a table you should be willing to evolve and modify your decks. Yes, you know, this is Commander and you can build your deck any way you want. However, I do think that to some degree you kind of need to work with you need to work things out with your playgroup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where communication is key, and usually for our group, you know, when one of us improves one of our, like their decks, and you know it gets a really good showing, it motivates me. I don't know about you guys, but it motivates me to rise to the challenge and be a better player. Learn how to be a better player. If I look back and see what misplays I do, how could I have read the situation better and done better? If I can't improve that way, then maybe I just need to add in more, you know, more interactive cards or something like that, and change up my game plan just a tiny bit. Not too much where it becomes meta warping and you can say that it's unhealthy, but just enough where you get that nice ebb and flow, that tug of war of like, you know, my friend's doing awesome, I want to keep up, and you kind of, you know, bounce each other, you know what I mean? But again, not to bash on people, you know, I don't want to say get good or anything. And then if you feel that you can't beat the deck and you don't have enough money to change up the game plan or anything, then just talk to your friend or talk to that person, whoever has that broken quote-unquote Paradox Engine deck, to be like, hey, do you have any other more casual decks that fits the power level of our current decks? Because honestly, Commander is a social event. You know, you sit down with a bunch of friends or pickup groups, whoever it may be, and you just want to have a good time playing Magic.
Pop some beers. It's like game nights. You know, it's Monopoly night. It's, you know, it's board night. Board game night. But with Magic cards, you know? I think as a group, as friends, and even if you meet randos at a card shop, you know, you just talk to each other. You understand, like, hey, maybe this person has had some bad interactions with Paradox Engine type decks. You go, okay, I won't play that level of a deck. I'll play a little bit less, maybe a little bit more fun type deck. You know, there are so many commanders out there you can just have fun with. You don't need to be that player.
Then, I don't know about you guys, but like, you know, if Paradox Engine gets banned, don't you guys feel kind of worried about what other bans they can make? Because
Deadeye.
You know, Deadeye Navigator, because it was also a big one.
If Paradox Engine makes the game too fast, then okay, what's stopping from banning like Deadeye, or what's stopping from banning like, I don't know, like
Protein Hulk again.
Protein Hulk again. Yeah.
Well, for me, I was thinking about like, you know, what about Isochron Scepter combined with, you know, Dramatic Reversal, right?
What if they just ban Isochron Scepter?
Exactly.
Just be like, oh, the Dramatic Reversal makes the game too fast.
Or
yeah, so it's like, it's kind of ridiculous because, you know, people will just, you know, complain and then move on to the next most powerful combo, right?
Or they could also ban Food Chain, for example. I've been playing at a lot of competitive tables, and a lot of times they point out, oh, Food Chain, oh my gosh, I don't like playing against that card, yet, you know, Food Chain's never had received much of an attention for a ban. And a lot of players decide that it's not necessarily something they cannot play against because there's a lot of interaction that they could go off with food chain. There's a lot of enchantment removal that exists. Yeah.
I think if we're looking back at previous bans, a few years ago we had Prophet of Krufix get banned, and we all kind of were like, "Oh, Prophet, it's like $1 rare, like it's really cheap right now." But you think about it, it can go in any blue-green deck, and it does not need to have the interaction like Paradox does. You just untap all your stuff on each other player's turns, and your stuff gains flash.
Even at the end of your turn, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
So it's honestly, it is a much more generic card. If that card was colorless, if Prophet was ever a colorless card, I honestly think it would have been banned right away.
Yeah, it's literally a Vidalcan Ori stapled together with, a Seedborn Muse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, that card was so good that if you're playing blue-green, you had to have it. And that was what was unhealthy. It was because, what were you doing not playing it? You know what I mean? It was, see, I can understand because that alone, you don't even need cards to combine with it because it enabled so many things. Paradox Engine, I feel like we're beating a dead horse here, but like, you got to build around the card to make it really solid. And then, again, I want to move on to like a different subject here because if you think about it, if they're banning Paradox Engine, it's like, what's the future of Commander? Because anything can get banned. Your favorite Isochron Dramatic Reversal combo can get banned. Protean Hulk can get banned again. Or
Elish Norn can get banned.
Because some people complain about that card too. You know what I mean? Here's the thing: is that like, where do you draw the line, guys?
I think they need to just take a step back, look at the meta of Commander, and go, what is being played? And one of the biggest things a lot of players are saying right now, and it's mostly coming from the competitive part of Commander, is there should be a competitive EDH ban list and a casual ban list. And I think that is the
idea.
big... It is. A lot of competitive players are saying they need to differentiate. Because if you're playing competitive, Paradox Engine is the card you want. With that ban, it just killed, and a lot of players, it killed Captain Sissy, and it killed...
Joyra? New Joyra from Dominaria.
And it killed... he's a mono blue. He's not really that... Like, he wasn't really... known that
you
well.
mean Arkham Daxon, right?
Arkham
Daxon.
Yeah.
Dude, Arkham Daxon.
His deck is dead right now.
It's one of those things like Arkham Daxon. You can still make it work, but then it's just so much harder. It's ridiculously harder.
Actually, so I do actually play a mono blue Arkham Daxon deck.
Exactly. I want to hear this.
The way I would have to change up that deck would be a really slow Staxy deck that revolves around fetching 3 pieces within about 2 or 3 turns, give or take, in order to secure a win.
Yeah, and then that's what I'm saying is that
that's a lot of turns.
In CEDH,
Yeah, in CDH.
it's eternity.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, in CEDH, you counter one Paradox Engine, you can probably play more things. Well, that's 3 cards he's talking about. So that can be 3 cards that can be countered. And even if you just counter one of those, that's just killed that 3-card combo. If you have no way to get it back.
3 cards that can be potentially destroyed.
Or 3 cards to be destroyed. Paradox Engine's a single card, and it's a build around. But those 3 cards, it just makes it so much harder for things to...
Yeah, you want efficiency in your competitive EDH decks. And then I would actually like to see 2 separate ban lists. That'd be actually really cool. Because my idea was that what if, they reevaluate the ban list and have like the really busted cards stay banned while the other cards are on a quote-unquote watch list, right? Where they're cards that they're probably unfun, but if your play group agrees to play it and you can totally play it or something like that.
Yeah, going off on that, I kind of think that before, like, if the committee wants to like ban any more cards, they should release a list of cards that can like be potentially banned or unbanned, like like the watch list, and it's just maybe like 2 weeks before, week or 2 before, like these are cards that we're considering to be banned or unbanned, but like none of them have to be banned or unbanned. It's just they can just throw red herrings, but at least let us know what's being considered.
So are you asking them to perhaps give us a warning
Yes.
on the time so that those of us that like to gamble a little bit and assume that there might not be a ban may want to perhaps purchase more copies, while those of us that want to be a little more conservative maybe might want to sell off our copies earlier. That way there's not as much of a financial
yeah
breakdown.
Like as it is right now, and I don't know if we were gonna ever talk about that right now, but like that's why I just think that they need to that's what they should do with like the ban list, or like
Yeah. I totally agree with you. It's like, and then because especially when Paradoxons are such an expensive card, it went up to like $50. You know, $50 is like no chump change. You know what I mean? Like
Now it's 10.
Yeah, from 24 hours, it went from 50 to 10.
It didn't go from 50 to 10. It actually went from it kind of gradually went down from 50 to 15 in a span of like 2 to 3 days.
But is that healthy for any sort of like financially, like market wise? Like that is a 50% decrease.
More
Unless
than
you
a
pooled
50%.
it. Like
It
if
is-
you
it
pool
is-
Paradox, it would, you're not losing value. You're not losing your money. But if you bought it, that's where you're losing the money.
Technically, either way, you've somehow lost money, because for a time it was worth.
mm-hmm.
You kind of had this asset that was sitting around for about $50, and then it just plop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. And then so back to what I was saying, though, is like, Mitchell here would love a kind of a watch list of cards to consider. So whether or not you want to pick up copies or sell extra copies, to be safe, so that the community can be feel safe. And then what I would like to do was just kind of like have a solid ban list, and then have cards be like, oh, these cards are powerful, but they're not necessarily banned, and talk to it with your play group to see if you want to play with it. Because some people don't like Sundering Titan, but honestly, I think Sundering Titan is not as good as it used to be. It's an 8 mana, 8/8 or something like that. Whereas that whenever it enters or leaves the battlefield, you get to destroy a land of each basic type, and that's not. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, it is pretty powerful, but it's not backbreaking as it used to be, because in Battlecruiser Magic, when the game was a lot slower, you can kind of take advantage of the land destruction and then also reanimating and stuff like that. It's one of those things where like it's not that bad anymore, and we have way more stronger interaction spells. We really do. And then another card is like Coalition Victory, right? Coalition Victory is one of those cards where nobody likes cheesy wins, but if you look at it now, it's Wooburg and 3 colorless. That's an 8 mana sorcery. And then like for it to win you the game, you need to have a creature of each color and the basic land type of each, all 5. And if you want to be really cheeky about it, you can counter it, or you can destroy either one of the basic land types that they're like they're short on, or just to destroy one of the creatures to so that they don't have all 5 colors, and then it fizzles anyways. You know what I mean? We have so much good interaction now. The game has evolved and changed, and I think a lot of cards from the ban list can just get removed and it'd be okay to play with. And for those who are kind of like in that gray line, like for example, the Sundering Titan, where it's like not many people like land destruction, World Fire, some people might be kind of iffy about it. Like those cards where it's like
Biorhythm.
Biorhythm.
I was gonna say that, but I was like,
yeah, Biorhythm is another.
hold on to
Yeah, I
that.
keep forgetting. Yeah, Biorhythm is not even that bad because it's
We
an
have
8. It's an 8 mana sorcery.
we have Shaman of Forgotten Ways.
It can get countered.
I think if we're talking about Coalition Victory, we also have to talk about cards like Approach of the Second Sun, where that is even
Yes.
easier card to win off of.
Yep.
And then we also have a card like Maze's End. If you're playing a deck that revolves around getting those lands out, that honestly is a much easier win con than Coalition Victory. I don't quite understand how they came to the consensus of banning that card,
Well,
but
it's because it's a long time ago. You know what I mean?
We've had many instances when Maze's End actually won, which is surprising.
and Approach of the Second Sun.
Well,
Oh yeah, an approach of the second
Yeah,
sun.
that's what I mean though. It's like because if you build your deck to be optimal with Maze's End, you're going to be making multiple land drops, right? And then you even have ways to untap, the Maze's End to activate multiple times. And so surprisingly, you can actually do it pretty fast, like a lot faster than you expected to be, and you thought you'd be safe because, oh, only one land per turn, only one activation per turn, not that big of a deal. Potion of Second Sun, they can just put 7th from the top, and then they have some sort of draw spell or some way to dig towards it. It comes a lot faster than you think it does, and it's like that in itself. It's like, is that ban worthy? If Coalition Victory is apparently ban worthy, then are these cards ban worthy?
So are alternate win conditions ban worthy?
I know.
Is that really like what Magic is? Like,
I mean, we're casual. We should be more casual, like thinking.
I think Magic should have more like alternate win conditions. Like, well, is it the new one from Modern Horizons, the Phyrexian? Oh, it's after a set.
Mirrodin Besieged.
Yes, Mirrodin Besieged.
Well, it's not. It's just target player loses, but it's.
Oh, but still,
Well,
like,
yeah,
It's like, are we gonna ban Triskaidekaphobia?
yeah, like an alternate win condition. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
Because like these win cons, you kind of have to work for them. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
and Coalition Victory, you have to work for that. You have to have a land of each color and a creature of each color. It's like, it could be a pretty hard thing to pull off, and it can be countered. There are so many cards on the ban list. I can understand the Power 9, but there are so many other cards on there that you go, our meta has evolved so far from when these cards were banned, and I think we should really be reconsidering. It's the same way they did Painter Servant.
There was another card that it was one of my pet cards from way back around, what's that? Was it Gate Crash? There's this card called Sylvan Primordial.
Oh yeah, that card's
yeah.
pretty good. I feel like
It
might still be banned worthy.
It is.
Maybe?
It is banned still.
it's banned, but the mana cost of it is kind of intensive
It is.
for today's EDH, because EDH has evolved to a certain degree now.
Because here's the thing about Sylvan Primordial is that this is one of the cards where I think you could get away with unbanning it, but it's still relatively powerful for what it is, because no one card has ever, entered the battlefield below 3 permanents, 3 non-creature permanents, and then you get to also get 3 force cards from your deck onto the battlefield. You just +4, or technically, if you consider the minus from your opponents, you just +7. It's one of those cards where, and then you may be right. It is 8 mana. It is
8 mana.
But you're playing green.
7 mana.
Is it 7?
Yeah.
yeah.
If it's 7, you may be right. It's like, it is pretty hefty, but you're playing green. Chances are you're going to ramp it out. Or we also have so many ways to just cheat it onto the battlefield. And can you imagine if it feels bad? It's one of those cards where I think it's in the gray line, right?
I mean, it's kind of like Iona,
Yeah.
where Iona can be cheated into play, and that's actually a reason that people provide for why Iona should be banned in Commander, because it allows for players to be it allows for a lockout for certain players that play monocolored.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right, but the things that I think that Iona usually walks out one color, and being in a social gathering, you can you can do some politics. Ask your
Social
teammates.
gathering, like a magic gathering.
Yes, absolutely, and then they can back you up and destroy the Iona. Or a lot of people don't realize that, but Iona's is a trigger ability. You can respond to the trigger, and if you know that they're about to name black because everyone's playing black, and if you have a kill spell,
Doomblade.
you can just Doomblade her while the trigger ability is on the stack, and she dies, and then the ability will resolve, but then she's no longer on the board, and then you're good to go. It's one of those things where you can do stuff like that, and again, it's like, even if you don't have the removal, it's like, just talk to your buddies about it. It's like it's a 3 to 4 player game, you know what I mean? And then I think Sylvan Primordial is just stronger because having removal tacked onto your creature while also ramping you, that's pretty powerful.
This Sylvan Primordial is just a stronger Primeval Titan.
Primeval Titan's on the ban list.
It is.
I know, right?
So let's talk about that.
I think about with Primeval Titan.
I want Prime Time unbanned.
I actually bought one when it got reprinted in Iconic Masters, because I completely forgot that it was banned, and then I bought it, and I was like, well, maybe it'll get unbanned one year. I highly doubt it. But it's still a pretty viable card to get unbanned because just like any other card, it can still be countered. It has to enter the battlefield to get its ability to go off. So if you counter it, it's done. Now, there are so many other ways to have it continue going.
You could play like what's that one card that like that negates all ETB?
Are we talking about that we should all play Torpor Orb?
Yeah, there we go. I was like
I
Torpor.
think,
Torpor Orb.
like I said earlier, the meta has evolved, and I think unless you are playing a build around ETBs, you have Panharmonicon out with it and everything like that, it's not as powerful as it once was. And you really have to have like cards, like it gets any lands, but they come out tapped. So it's not like you're playing those lands right away.
Let's talk about another card that's actually within today's metagame. Even Mind Sensor, right?
Is that bannable?
Is
No, but
Even
it can
Mind Sensor-
stop prime time.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It
That's
stops
right.
a lot of the tutors too, just any tutors in general.
Yeah.
And the reason why Prime Time was even banned to begin with was because it was a enter the battlefield for 6 mana and tutor 2 cards from your deck.
Yeah,
To the battlefield tap.
A lot of people didn't like the early. Oh, I can ramp up the prime time and immediately get Merit Lage token, right? Because you just give a Suva / Thespian stage, and the Dark Depths, right? Like, but then nowadays meta is like, we have Dark Depths combined with Thespian stage and like Ward Windgrace deck or something like
We have
that.
Scapeshift now. What are we, Legacy Lands in Commander?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just like one of those things where like there's a lot of cards that I would love to have them reevaluate, but an interesting idea that I thought about was like, what if they did like a Canadian Highlander system where cards that are powerful, they get a point system, and you get a maximum amount of points for your deck.
So now we're talking about changing the structure of Commander.
Yeah, which I know a lot of people don't like to change things up, but because a lot of people, here's the thing, is that like, I don't think bans are the right answer. I
Nope.
really don't. I really don't.
When they ban in Standard, that they messed up in that set when they made it. Because you think about it, the set goes through R&D. So when something gets missed, and it was like a Felidar Sovereign combo that was going off in Kaladesh Standard.
With Sahili.
Oh
with
yeah,
Saheeli,
the Felidar Guardian. Yeah,
They took forever to finally just ban the cat. They banned everything around it but the cat. And then they realized this is really bad. It's like Emrakul from the Shadow Innistrad.
because energy decks was just too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
From what was it? Not Shadows.
Eldritch Moon.
Eldritch Moon.
Eldritch
You know,
Moon.
it just they banned it right away, and when our Wizards bans a card that fast, they messed up somewhere, and they realized it. So when you ban a card in Commander, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thinking as in Wizards realizing they messed up on that card's creation.
See, I think we don't need bans in Commander, but also if they do want bans, maybe just ban like card combinations. So it's like you can have like a card in your deck, like you could, I don't know, but if it's like Iona with Painter Servant, that's not allowed. But you can have either Painter Servant or Iona in the deck.
So now we're talking about not necessarily having a ban list. Now let's look to another format that doesn't necessarily do that. Vintage.
Yeah, well, you think about it, Commander is vintage, right?
Right,
With
yeah.
a slight ban list. Because here's the thing: is that Commander has such a crazy pool of cards, and then we want the simplest answers. Because I think the idea of having certain cards be banned when they're paired together, to prevent degenerate combos, as some people say, is a good idea. But now you gotta have people look up these combinations, the combination of cards they can't play. And here's the thing: is like
Yeah.
people in general just don't like to feel restricted. You know what I mean? Just in general, just players. So I don't know. I want to shout out to the listeners here. Like, how would you solve it? Because in our play group, we have a lot of players who have a Paradox engine, and I think it's unfair that they spent so much money and they can't play it. And we never had a problem with it at all. Same with Iona, too.
Not only that about the money, but it also, like, took the time to, like, craft a deck around not around Paradox Engine, but to, like, fit Paradox Engine in the deck.
Yeah, right? It's because you have to build around it. And then now all of a sudden, they don't get to see their baby, like, work, their masterpiece.
I can't use my painter deck anymore. Well, I can, but now I can't tap and ping everyone and then cast a spell and untap all my painters and then ping them again.
Yeah, see, exactly. So, like, it's one of those things where it just seems like a huge feels bad. And you're probably going to see us just play with, like, ignoring this because our play group is okay with it, like, just having Iona. And we're actually kind of surprised that Patron Servant's unbanned. And so that means that we're actually consider about playing other cards, right? Like, would you guys be down to try one-ofs and see if Primeval Titan is actually still ban-worthy, World's Fire is still ban-worthy?
Yeah, let's
Or
do it.
time in that Ward
man.
Windgrace.
It's like, they're like less than $1 each, right? Yeah.
Some
Well,
of them
prime
are,
time
yeah.
is still worth some.
Yeah,
money.
because he actually sees Sway Modern, but, like, was it Biorhythm, Coalition Victory in a 5-color deck?
Wait.
It'd be really funny.
Is Biorhythm banned still?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you imagine Biorhythm's still banned, apparently? But like I was saying, though, guys, so we're actually probably going to test it out and give some feedback because I really want the committee. They're doing a great job, but at the same time, you can't please everybody. This announcement probably did the same thing, for a casual group where they're absolutely happy they don't have to play against such powerful cards. But the thing is that usually you don't have to play against these powerful cards to begin with if you're playing with a very balanced play group. Now, our play group, we're cool with each other, so it doesn't really hurt us at all. So
Maybe I'll wince at the occasional, like, I don't know, rune. Or Riku.
what is Rune, like, now ban-worthy, apparently? Oh, no!
Oh, it's too good.
I think if they were to ban any commander, it would be one called Urza.
Oh,
Yeah, but with Paradox Engine, Urza's not as bad anymore.
Urza's dead now.
No,
Well, can you
I
imagine
think,
if they
I
had
think Urza is
banned Urza?
amazing, even
Like,
without Paradox
He's still
Engine.
good. Like, I put Urza in my
Oh, yeah.
my Brea deck, and I don't need Paradox Engine with it. I can do other things to go off and make infinite mana. Like, you still have other 2-card combos, and I think people are forgetting that. I think the biggest issue is it's not Paradox Engine that's the ban card. I think it's more of people just got tired of seeing it all the time, and a lot of salt was built up, and so it came to the commander committee, and they were like, well, I guess it's just too good because all these people are complaining about it, and I think that's the big issue.
So you're saying that because of all the memes of it being Paradox Engine levels of good, it got the ban hammer.
I think it did. I think that it received a bad stereotype about itself, and it's not that bad of a card. It's good, but I don't think calling something Paradox Engine level good is really a good definition of what it is.
Oh, I thought it was a great meme. Oh, well.
I thought it was a great level of good. I mean, there's
I
other
think if we're gonna call
Etherflux-
anything good,
Etherflux Reservoir levels of good. We got Gaia's
Oh, no.
Gaia's Cradle levels
well,
of
it's like,
good.
if you were to call
I-
anything good, you could call it anything off the ban list level good, because those cards got banned for a reason, because they were just that good.
Biorhythm levels of good.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
no.
could be
So-
like,
All right, guys, we got to be careful because if we all of a sudden we say certain cards are too good, I don't know. I don't want to, say
Make-
that the casual people are
Yeah,
like,
stop. I want to play with Flash for at least like a good year or so.
Flash Hulk too good. It's like Biorhythm level good.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna wrap things up here. Please let us know how do you guys feel about the ban list. Do you think it's fair? Because you obviously hear from our opinions that it's not, and it's all down to communication. Because we're going to continue to play with the cards we love to play, and that we worked hard to buy and also craft into our decks. And then we're actually going to test out some of the ban list cards to see if they're still ban worthy, because the game has changed so much. So, do you guys have any more final remarks that you want to leave for the viewers here?
Just play with what you want to do, I guess. But be friendly about it and courteous.
That's true.
I think if I'm gonna play any card off that ban list, it's gonna be Shahrazad.
Shahrazad. Oh, Jedi, you got any final remarks you want to talk to the
Oof.
viewers about?
So I believe that all players all Commander players should be able to play any card that they see fit, as long as it is within agreement within their play group. You know, I mean that's all I really have to say. I believe that yes, you've spent a decent amount of money on this piece of cardboard, and I believe that you should be able to enjoy that value out of it. You know, play group permitting. That's really all I have to say.
Yeah, I absolutely
Yeah.
agree.
It's a part of Magic.
I think if you're not going to tournaments, and you're just playing with friends, just go by house rules.
Exactly. It is a social gathering. But anyways, guys, we got to wrap things up here. So, Victor.
I'm Mitchell.
I'm CJ.
And this is Jedi.
And this is Maho Shonen signing out.
Shaka bra.
Okay.
Oof.
Let's eat.
Yeah,
guys.
I actually said that "puh" too loud. I'm so sorry.
No, it's not even just that. I think it's just like, it's one of those things where like, we definitely got a little pattern. It's like, oh!